Hey guys, Street Talk here, and uh, looks like we've got some gunk on the lens. Uh, okay, it's better. I find it awkward doing these videos on the couch. It's hard to get because the camera is so low. I have to hunch over just to sort of be in shot, and it's not even comfortable to do it. And I need to be comfortable if I'm going to be talking for half an hour again. Um, so hi. Yes, it's a little bit better. Right, there we go. So, what do you want to talk about? That is a lot better. That's a lot more comfortable. That helps a lot. I I started this without even knowing what topic I'd bring up. I've got quite a few in mind. Okay, I'll run through the topics off my head, and in the comment section, maybe let me know which ones you want me to talk about because, yeah, I'm having a lot of trouble sort of focusing or like finding the passion to do these videos. If I'm being completely honest. And if anyone actually like wants to hear a certain thing, then I'll do it. I definitely want to make another video on that. I know it was kind of a stupid half-assed kind of video, but the Super Mario Brothers video I did. I After I did that, in the comment section, people left a lot of good examples of reptilian symbolism in those games, but on my own independently, right after I finished it, I thought of like literally 10 to 12 examples, many of which are a lot better than the ones I said in the video itself. So that just goes to show I need to probably start doing notes for these videos. I never do any notes for these videos. I feel like, I don't know, it's just kind of disingenuous in a way because the mood or the atmosphere or whatever that I want to come across here is just sort of someone talking to you, sincerely, no real agenda. Like if you want to have a conversation with somebody, it's not like you have a bunch of notes that you keep referring to. I like things to flow, but that comes at a price because I'm not the most mentally fluid person, so I do certainly run into a lot of mental blockages. We'll put it that way. So I need to start getting these things more concise and clear. And I think a good way to start is a 3-minute intro. 3-minute plus at this point. 59, 3 minutes. This whole time I'm just watching the timer go by and I'm thinking, wow, I'm good at filibustering. No, but seriously, okay, so topics I got in mind. I want to do another one of the Mario video, but I might disguise it because people probably aren't going to click on a video that was kind of crappy if it's a part two of something that wasn't very popular. What else? I got this idea that I've been throwing around literally like it always makes me laugh, but I want to actually do a video called Reptilians on the Road. Just the title makes me laugh, but the idea would be basically talking about how to spot reptilians while you're driving your car or while you're a passenger on the road, and all the tales, at least from my schizophrenic perspective, of what constitutes a reptilian motorist. So reptilians on the road's another one. Hey, people say I've run out of ideas, and they're right. What else? Oh yeah, I want to talk about vaccinations, about how my belief in vaccinations and how it sort of ties into targeted individuals, that I believe that all real people are given some sort of, limitation or disadvantage before they're even born. This is done through all sorts of things, vaccinations. It's all done in utero, basically. Because the trend I've been noticing is how all people who are born with mental disabilities or physical or both tend to be fantastic people, really pure, good-hearted people, and that's just something I've noticed. People, and it's always made me very sad. People with disabilities it's so unfair. But all real people are given disadvantages socially. Very few, if any, real people are born into families that are supportive and all that sort of thing. So that's one other video topic I might discuss in the future. Let me know if you want to hear that one. What else? Oh yeah, so and in the last video, I might actually discuss this one here. In the last video, I mentioned about how reptilians are the bad guys in your life, and that's kind of a concept that I didn't fully realize in that one. So I might sort of use the opportunity at the 6-minute mark to launch into the point of this video, which is the idea. It's sort of been swimming around in my crazy head for a while that a lot of most of us probably agree that to some extent this reality is a lie. That at the very least it's a simulation, possibly a dream, and neither of those two theories cancel each other out at all. It could be an induced coma, a virtual reality. We're put into some sort of sleep state, and we're simply fed this false version of a 3D world. It could literally be a video game, which again doesn't cancel out the fact that it could be a dream, which means we're in a sleep state. It's a simulation, which is what a video game is. So it's like a virtual reality prison, which is a pretty popular theory amongst us nut jobs. It could be a TV show, the whole idea of the Truman Show, that we're always being filmed and recorded and monitored one way or another. I mean, it could be that. We could be. I think there was an episode of South Park that also went into this idea of the world being this sort of Truman Show where all the different races on Earth are basically put together for the entertainment of these psychopathic aliens who in the episode were portrayed as Jews. I think that's just some sort of coincidence, though. They could have used any race. Yeah, so reality, possibly a TV show. Which, I mean, there's nothing to say that it can't be a TV show and a video game at the same time. So those two theories don't cancel each other out. So it could be a TV show / a video game, virtual reality that we're playing in some sort of induced sleep state coma. Something along the lines of possibly the movie, what is it? What's that movie? Leonardo DiCaprio, blah, 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 blah. The guy who did the crappy, the overrated Batman movies with Christian Bale, who talks like he's a fucking rapist. What are those? What's her name? Inception, right? Yeah, that's the one. We could be living in Inception, and the idea that all these enemies that we have, the antagonists in our life story, because that's basically where I'm building all this to. In the movie, they come to people in the movie in disguise as people who they trust to get information about them that they can use outside of the dream world to disadvantage or to pull crime. So man, this video is getting a little bit messy. Okay, so yeah, and the Matrix also touches on the same concepts, that we're living in some sort of false reality. There's plenty of movies. In case you're not aware, the idea of movies talking about things that actually exist is definitely real. Most movies, okay, so fiction is basically, all fiction is an analogy or a metaphor for something that actually exists. And with the reptilians, the way that they run things, the way that they stay hidden and the way that they stay in power, because knowledge is power, is that they fictionalize the truth and they tell the truth in fiction. And a good example of fictionalizing the truth is the news media. All the news is a lie. All the things you see on there, all the major events, at least, all the news stories, all the eyewitnesses of all these major tragedies. Well, I mean, they are tragedies, but they're also deliberate crimes perpetrated by the same people who claim to be the victims. All these things like 9/11 and Sandy Hook and all that stuff. All these shootings are fake. All these terrorist attacks are fake. And all the eyewitnesses are always actors. If you've been into that sort of area of YouTube, or I mean, if you've ever seen a news report, an American news report, CNN or otherwise, you can tell that these people who were at the scene and saw the crime, they're terrible actors, very hammy, very weird-looking people. All crisis actors are reptilians who are simply working alongside the news media. They're part of the crew, and so like all the news is fiction. They don't even tell you it's the truth. You just assume that it's the truth. By calling it the news, that doesn't mean that it's something that happened. News is simply information that you weren't aware of. It doesn't mean it has to be true. News is simply new information. I could tell you that I'm the king of Mars. You didn't know that before. It's not true. I'm the king of Neptune. You know what I mean? So that's how they get you. They use all these loopholes, in language and all that sort of stuff, and we all basically assume that what we're told is true because it's a trusted source. The news has never been proven to steer anyone wrong because it's basically the be-all, end-all authority on facts. Although, like I said, they never actually tell you their facts because that would be lying and in violation of karmic rule or whatever hippie crap you want to call it, That's what Lesson Magic is. If you haven't heard of Lesson Magic or predictive programming, things like 9/11, they actually telegraph their plans ahead of time, like a Bond villain, like, well, Mr. Bond, now that you're in the deck chair and I have you, it's time to tell you my evil plan because they can't help but tell you how clever they are, right? So, like, if you've done the research, if you know anyone who's like into conspiracy theories, just drop it. You're aware of all the predictive programming that existed with 9/11, years, decades in advance. I'm talking like 30, 40, maybe even 50 years before the actual September 11th attacks. They were putting in all these like sort of clues about what was going to happen on September 11th, 2001 with planes flying into the Twin Towers. I mean, there's literally thousands of examples, hundreds of which at least you can find on YouTube. But, that's just what people have catalogued and managed to get on video and all that sort of stuff. But I guarantee there's probably thousands of examples of 9/11 predictive programming. And, the predictive programming these days that they're going for is the fake alien attack. They're programming people to sort of accept this eventual reality of aliens coming here and trying to destroy Earth. They've been doing that one for a little bit longer than they have for 9/11, but I mean, they don't pull these long cons or draw out these narratives for no reason. That's another thing. For people who aren't aware, like movies, as I was saying, that they fictionalize the truth, which is obviously, what I've been talking about for the last 5 minutes. But like I also said, they hide the truth in fiction, which is, what they do in movies like The Matrix and The Adjustment Bureau and Inception and 13th Floor, Dark City. They Live is probably the best example. Truman Show. They Live, though, is probably my favorite movie about reality. The star of that movie, Rowdy Roddy Piper, he actually went on record before he was, before he died. I would assume murdered because he wasn't very old. But he went on record on Twitter and said that They Live is a documentary. And you get so many fucking stupid shitheads on YouTube, and I would imagine they're shills to some extent, basically trying to politicize the idea of They Live. And, it's a literal movie, if you're a real person and you haven't seen They Live, you should go see it. And if you have seen it, you'll know what I mean. It's exactly like how it feels to be a real person in this world. Same with the Truman Show as well, but They Live goes sort of takes sort of like a more literal tact, and that's like that plays into the documentary part that we're surrounded by reptilian aliens. The idea that reptilians are just at the top, they're just the royal family, and they're just the people in the media, and the presidents and all that shit. Like, reptilians are around you. They outnumber humans. This is a reptilian realm. This is a reptilian planet. Satan, the king reptile himself, owns this fucking planet. He dictates the rules. He dictates the energy. He's a controlling, hateful god of war. And he is the one who owns this realm and makes all the rules. That's why if you're a good person, you want to do anything in this world, you're going to have to sell out, which fucking sucks. So the idea that we're living in a prison is pretty true. We're living in like at least 3 levels of prison. We're living in a flesh prison, which means that for real people we have souls, at least good souls, living souls. We're living in a flesh prison, so we're trapped in these stupid bodies that limit us to basically using 10% of our brain, if what we're told about that is true. And I believe it. I know that I am not able to reach my full potential in any capacity in this stupid body that I'm given. We've been nerfed before birth, given these brains that basically do not function correctly, bodies that break down, all this sort of stuff. We're trapped in this physical prison that, it sort of dictates all of our urges and impulses to a degree. We have to eat, we have to freaking sleep, we have to, all that sort of stuff on a burp, and then there's like the outside of us is the world, the society, the prison, both physical and sort of metaphorical. We live in a prison that has so many rules and all that sort of stuff, and you can't really be free. You can't really go somewhere and be autonomous or whatever. So you're living in a flesh prison. You're living in a sort of a societal prison, and then to take it to another level. Say you want to actually get away from the society and actually seek some sort of autonomy, freedom, or whatever. You can't, because from all reports, we're trapped in here inside a giant freaking dome that is inescapable, and impenetrable apparently. So we're living in at least 3 layers of prison in this world. So like I was saying, the movie They Live, very, very good movie, very relatable for real people. And the trick behind They Live, and I don't want to get too off topic, although that's all I've been doing. The trick behind They Live is that, in case you didn't know, I would say, as far as I've seen, all these movies that are made that have sort of like, what do you call it, what's the word, sort of secret reptilian disclosure. That's not exactly the word I wanted to use, but where they're disclosing reptilians and the true reality of our world. All these movies are made by reptilians. Everyone in the cast of They Live is a reptilian, because if you're not activated or whatever the word is, you probably wouldn't follow that. But if you are, and you have the eyes to see or whatever, you can tell that everyone in the cast that They Live, whether or not they're portraying one of the reptilians or one of the humans, is actually a reptilian themselves. But it sort of ties into the idea that there are good and bad reptilians, and I think that the intentions of They Live, it wasn't to sort of rub it in our face and gaslight us like a lot of these soft disclosure movies or whatever you want to call it do. I really think that They Live is had the people behind that had good intentions, and that they wanted to actually tell people and help people sort of wake up and use the movie as a sort of confirmation or affirmation of what we may be wondering, because it was a huge sort of help in confirming to me how I felt, how I saw the world, and whether or not all this stuff I was learning about reptilians and shape-shifting and all the hologram technology and all the agendas behind these psychopathic, cold-hearted pieces of shit around us was true, And that's another thing I want to mention, that confirmation is something that's very real and very important to a person who is waking up. If you're wondering anything, if you watch like these crazy videos and you start to wonder something, there's a thing that happens, which, as I said, is confirmation, where you'll suddenly start to experience things, or you'll have examples come to your attention that will either confirm or deny what you're wondering. So, you could watch this video and, hold on, I'm just going to fix the tape here. You could watch this video and hear me talking about all this crazy stuff, or anyone, on YouTube talking about all this crazy stuff. And as long as you have that thought in your head running, like, what was that guy's problem? Why was he saying that, there's so many reptilians around us, and, that stuff's impossible, blah, blah, blah. You're going to suddenly start to experience things that will either confirm or deny those thoughts, because all it takes is a thought, and suddenly, the way things work, energy and whatnot, you'll be drawing experiences towards you that will help you sort of come to a conclusion. That's certainly how it worked for me when it comes to reptilians. When I first started learning about this, I was open-minded, but also fairly reserved, and I just did a hell of a lot of research about it, and I started learning things and coming into contact not only with videos and writings about these sort of things, but also meeting literal people who I learned one way or another were not human, and it suddenly started to all make sense. And also, like I mentioned before about activation, I'd also like to know if people have experienced this thing, because I've talked before about, like, I never had like a Kundalini awakening or any of that sort of stuff. That sort of stuff seems very, very foreign to me. I feel like to some degree I've always been woke. I posted a video in before about when I was 11 or 12. I did this. In school we all had to write a story, a children's book. And I ended up writing this picture book about how everyone around me is like a lizard person, right? And I never even heard about reptilians up until that point. But looking back on that, I was like, holy crap, I was woke back then. I didn't even realize it. So I've never like had this like moment of like feeling all this like positive energy starting through me, or whatever it is, like moment of clarity, or I don't know. But one thing that I did experience was when I started like looking into these topics, and my mind really started like turning the cogs on, like, what is this? Is this all real? What, blah, blah, blah. When I would go to sleep, I'd have like these flashes of lightning, like, you close your eyes and it's all black, then you like literally see like a lightning crack, and just like full on, like, just like blow out my eyes, and I wake up to be like, what the hell was that? That went on for like a few months on and off, and I believe that was the process of my mind or something like that activating me, so that I would be able to not literally physically see reptilians, fully, but to at least be able to sense and discern their appearances, their voices, their nature, and their energy. So like, if you are actually in the know, which I believe many of the people who watch my channel are at least open-minded enough to listen and try to follow what I'm talking about with all this crazy stuff. But if you are like actually activated, I'd like to know if you experience that same thing with the lightning. Anyway, I didn't really talk about what I wanted to talk about, which is the idea that reptilians are the bad guys in your life. The reason that I was bringing up all this fiction and all that sort of stuff is to kind of lay the foundation for talking about how reptilians are the bad guys in your life, which again, like, I didn't really get to, but I've said it in the past, and it's worth repeating, that, the idea that organic portals and all that sort of stuff, all those channels, as far as what I'm learning, left side of the brain, Eno-Fey, there's a few others at least, those channels are reptilian channels. The people behind those channels do not appear to be human. I've said it, and people have agreed with it, that channels that either downplay or completely ignore or even disparage, is that the word? The idea of reptilians being around us are actually reptilians themselves, because the reptilians have a vested interest in keeping their presence on this earth, say, clandestine, because awareness repels them, and awareness of them is what is going to cause them to shapeshift, and once they start shapeshifting, they can't stay here any longer, because their whole plan of impersonating humanity to destroy humanity won't work if we can see that they're all monsters. You know, that's why they take on these human forms. That's why, like, the idea behind it, wolf in sheep's clothing. That if it were to come try to get in with the sheep and, you know what I mean, kill them from the inside out, all the sheep would just run away if it was a wolf, right? So that's why the idea behind a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's why they impersonate humans. That's why they fake empathy. That's why they fake being spiritual. Why they fake being truthers, and why they're using organic portals basically as a scapegoat for their own antics and agendas. And there's a lot of channels like the ones I just mentioned, both Eno Fey and Left Side of the Brain. They talk about some. They're both very good at what they do, but you know. That's what a shill is. They mix a lot of truth. That's like the cheese in the mousetrap. You know what I mean? The truth is the cheese in the mousetrap, and all the rest is the thing that's going to come down and slap you and break your friggin' neck, so to speak, right? But anyway, that's just my opinion. I know that like people might be on the fence about me mentioning Left Side of the Brain, the woman hating monotone voice guy who never talks about reptilians, who never appears on camera for some reason. You know, yeah, he's obviously a good guy, but like Eno Fey or however you pronounce it. Well, I know a lot of. Well, I don't know a lot. I know a few people that watch his channel, also watch his videos. I mean, I've watched his videos, and like I said, he's got good information. But I saw a video today where he shapeshifts, and I was really using my awareness and discernment, and he talks about so much crap in that video that just wasn't true. Basically talking about how when we get these thoughts or impulses that sort of pop into our heads, that those are, what do you call it? What was he saying? That's like hive mind, and he's saying everyone who thinks is part of a hive mind. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, you know? The reason I disagree is I've had so many instances where these random or sudden thoughts or urges entered my head, and I acted on them, and they actually ended up bringing me into a positive situation or helping me escape a very negative situation. And you know, it's just intuition. It's human intuition or instinct. It's survival instinct. You know, it's like in the Matrix, how Morpheus talks to Neo and tries to help him out of a situation, and it's, you know, that leap of faith sort of stuff. You know, that's what it is. It's not fucking hive mind. But he talked about a lot of other stuff, like recommending. He recommends chiropractors. So that's like recommending. I don't know. I would say like going to. It's kind of analogous to going to like a mechanic. You know, they're pretty much all con artists. And the other thing is that, you know, they don't fix the problem. Basically, they don't fix the problem. It's like a band-aid, and they put you on these plans where they like need to get you back every 2 weeks so that they can make you feel better again for another 2 weeks. And anyway, I might actually talk about this stuff in another video, but like I was saying, reptilians are the bad guys in your life. They're the antagonists. You're the protagonist. Yes, organic portals exist. Yes, they are probably the majority or somewhere close. But they are the background characters or the extras, right? The reptilians are the bad guys. They're all the people around you that, the haters and all that sort of stuff, you know, the creeps and the psychos and the narcissists and all that, you know. So I didn't really discuss what I wanted to, and I didn't really mean to throw people under the bus in this video, but hey, that was beyond the 25-minute mark, so probably no one's watching at this point. If you were, thank you for leaving your computer or phone on. That really helps me in the YouTube algorithms. But I'm going to wrap it up there, and hopefully in the future I can talk about something with a little bit more clarity. But this one's been going on far too long, so I'll just wrap it up here. Thank you everybody for watching, and don't forget to donate to Left Side of the Brain's Patreon and to follow him on Instagram, social media, so that they can track you. And yeah, so have a good one. Truth Dog out. Woof woof. I normally do a joke in this part, but you know, this video has been going on too long, so no jokes for you.